Oh yeah. So I think it's amazing that meditation that we did. That when you think about the person that I'm not even so acquainted to, I could see their image more clearly. But the one that I'm more acquainted with, or even very close to, my wife, a person's, for a woman, her husband, a child, a parent, that when they try to visualize that person, it's not as clear. But according to what we said, it's so pashut because your relationship to them is so much deeper than their physicalness. And that's what we were answering. Who asked the question initially, will I know my loved ones up in heaven? Who asked that question? It was such a beautiful question. And the answer is, you'll know them way more than you could recognize them here. Because your relationship to them, oh, it's koyin. Thank you. Your relationship to them is so much more them as opposed to the external, where the relationship is very superficial. So we said the more a person connects to their soul and to the souls of other people, they're connected to them. And that's what we've been talking about in the Tanya, the soul. Now we're talking about how the soul expresses in this world. We mentioned the soul wears clothing. Let's look inside. Va'oid yesh l'kol nefesh alakis. Every godly soul. We're going to talk about the clothing of the godly soul, and afterwards we're going to move on to the clothing of the animal soul. Because the godly soul expresses itself in three ways, and the animal soul expresses itself in three ways. They both use the expression of thought, speech, and action as the garments, as the clothing of them. And therefore the godly soul will have godly thoughts, godly speech, and godly action. And the animal soul will also use the faculties of thought and speech and action, but it will have impure thoughts, filthy speech, and horrendous actions. Let's look inside. They have three garments. Shehei machshava, dibur, and ma'aseh. They have machshava, dibur, and ma'aseh. Thought, speech, and action. Shel taryag mitzvahs haTorah. Shekasha odem ekayim b'ma'aseh kol mitzvahs ma'asiyos ubedibur hu oisik beperish kol taryag mitzvahs vehilchos seyem ubemachshava hu masig kol ma she'efshar lo lahasig bepardes haTorah. Hari klolos taryag evari nafshay malubashim betaryag mitzvahs haTorah. Oh, what does this mean? When a person uses his thought, speech, and action and catapults it into thoughts of Torah, speech of Torah, and actions of the mitzvahs of the Torah, he's essentially allowing his godly soul to be dressed up and express itself through thought, speech, and action, which means, this is awesome, my godly soul is, so to speak, being projected outwards into my thoughts, into my speech, and even further outwards into my actions. My thoughts are still very intimately, that's the, if you wear like Under Armour, the thoughts are your most inner clothing, right? Because they're the most intimate to you. Your speech are the most, well, the second most inner, but they also reflect outwards to other people. Your actions are the most outward because they're very physical. Yes?
Aren't your thoughts the most inner? Because like a lot of times we would think something but not express it.
Yeah. They're the most inner. First of all, that people, they're not revealed to other people. They're very intimate to you. And we understand how there's a certain closeness to me, that it's very wrapped up into me. It's very intimate. My actions, I could do something that's just totally not me. Somebody get me to just do something. And I could change that. Your thoughts, it's very hard to change them. Even the thoughts though are not you, but they're closer to you. Your speech is a little more external. and your actions are the most external. So, when I move, if I was wearing a glove right now, I was trying to put my hand in here. When I move, I one time went to this, it was like, not mime, but I went to this show that everything was in black light, and it was all in the dark, and all you saw was like the moving parts. You didn't really see the human behind it. Something like, but it was all in black light, black, and you saw the clothing of the people, we didn't see the people. It was like an interesting thing. So, you're like, the clothing's dancing! So, is that true? It is. But what's dancing the clothing? The person underneath it, right? The person underneath the clothing is, as I move, my clothing moves with me. Okay? As my godly soul is expressing itself, I am now, let's say through thoughts, through having holy thoughts of Torah. Torah is the greatest example of that. Thinking about God. I am projecting my godly soul into my thoughts. If I push my godly soul further out, I can push it into my speech through talking words of Torah. By the way, the main mitzvah of Torah is just thinking it. Right? But we paskin that it's better to say Torah because it projects it out further. But ultimately, what's the greatest expression of pushing your soul out? Actions. Actions. That's what's going on here. That's pretty awesome. Is that we're using the garments of the soul to allow expression of the soul coming out, and ultimately our soul is here in order to build a kingdom for God and to reveal God in the world. We do that through the clothing of the soul called Machshava Dibur Ma'aseh. Okay? Ube pratus. Okay, this is good. And specifically, Bechinas Chabad Shebenafshoy. In my neshama, remember we spoke about how there's higher parts of my neshama? Now we're talking about actually your soul, the intellectual part of your soul. Not the thoughts, but Chochmah, Bina, and Das. These higher intuitive realms, and the realm that could work through things, and then Das, which connects things. Those higher parts of your soul are specifically attached to thoughts, mostly. Melubeshes behasogas hatayra, shehu masig bepardes kafiya chaylas hasagosa v'sherish nafshalamala. The more that you push your higher parts of your soul into learning, deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. What's pardes mean? Anybody know?
Like heaven.
Pardes means literally an orchard. But Pardes is describing that the Torah has 4 levels. Anybody ever heard this before? There's 4 levels of understanding the Torah. Is this the first time you guys are hearing it? Pshat, Remez, Drush, Sod, right? Pshat means simple. Remez is different hints. Drush is usually making drushes. And Sod is the secrets. And of course, each of them have their own levels. The Pshat of the Pshat, the Remez of the Pshat, the Drush of the Pshat, the Sod of the Pshat, and there's the Pshat of the Pshat, the Remez of the Sod of the Pshat, and the Sod of the Pshat, of the Remez of the Sod of the Drush, of the Sod of the Pshat, of the Sod of the Pshat.
Rabbi and Drush, or Drush and Rabbi?
Remez is Pardes. Pei, Reish, Daled, Simon. That's the orchard. When we talk about you going to the orchard, like the Holy Apple Orchard, remember if Miller was talking about that the Arizal will go to the apple orchard? It means they went out to the orchards of Torah, going deeper and deeper into the Pardes, to the orchard. By the way, anytime that you see that word orchard in any holy books, they're always referring to this. They don't just mean like a nice place where apples are growing. They're referring to going deeper into the realms of mystical thought, deeper and deeper and deeper. Yeah.
Does that apply to Gan Eden?
Yeah. According to a person's awareness of the Pardes, of that orchard, he'll go deeper into Gan Eden. So to the degree that you can catapult your neshama into your, which is the intellectual part of it, into your thinking of Torah, according to how deep of the Torah you're thinking about. If you spend your whole life learning Pshat, it's amazing. But that's only so far. You only went a little bit. You might not have allowed the full expression of your neshama. But notice the Tanya says three very important words at the end. V'shoyrish nafshel amala. Did you notice that? He said you should delve into Torah learning as deep as possible. Kefi yecholas hasagosai, as deep as you can push your mind. But don't think that everybody can achieve the same status of learning. Nature and nurture, both. There's such a thing as that there's certain souls that are not meant to understand all the secrets. Remember we told you that that's what happened to the Beis Yosef when he came to the Kabbalah Shir, the Arizal, kept falling asleep, and then wake up. And those are the secrets of all the universe. What? Because the Arizal told him, you have to write the Shulchan Aruch on the Beis Yosef. Even though he was a massive Kabbalist, but that was not his chelik that he needed to reveal for Klal Yisrael. Now, you can't say, well, Rabbi, I know that the source of my soul is just to learn the simple things of Torah, so I never need to learn any Kabbalah. You don't know that. It could be that you're destined, you've got huge neshama, and you have to learn all the secrets of Kabbalah. You only kind of get that years down the line. So for now, just keep learning the pardes. But you notice Pshat comes first. Pshat, then there's Rosh Side. It's deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. You have to keep learning. And the Be'er Lachal does point out that in heaven they're going to ask you. So, there's going to be a test up there. They say, okay, Bereshis, Bar Lakim, Eisa Shemayim, Eisa Arts. Zog, let's see. Okay, you finished Chumash? Okay, Mishnayos. Meimesai Kernish and Ba'arvin. Okay, Brachas, next, Shabbos. Erevin. Let's go, Psachim. About that, Shkalim. Rosh Hashanah, Yuma, Sugas. It's getting hot. No, we were just starting here. Brises, Tosefta, Zoyar, Mechilta, Maisa Merkava, Maisa Bereshis, Maisa Chashmal. Like, whoa. What does the Kisei HaKavod look like up there? The Kisei HaKavod? Yeah. I'd like you to tell me what it looks like. Well, I didn't get to that because I just spent my whole life learning Pshat. Well, maybe you were supposed to learn more than that. How do you know? Well, just keep learning. But don't think if you keep learning and you weren't able to get there it might mean that you're not supposed to go there. That's what he's meaning for the second part. Not everyone's soul is meant to get everything. But everyone's soul has to push as far as they possibly can. And unless the Arizal was here and he would tell you, your Shayrish Neshama is... But we don't have that. Maybe if you go to the big tzaddikim, they could tell you a little bit of that. And they can. But we can't make that decision ourselves. All we can do is just don't stop steiging. Keep steiging and plunging the higher part of your neshama, your chacham midas, into your machshava of Torah, going deeper and deeper and chazara and more chazara and deeper and schwitzing over the Torah. There's a famous zog from Chaim Kanievsky where he says that we think bittul Torah means I wasn't learning, I was playing, Call of Duty. The guys still play that? No? It's so 6 months ago. What are they playing now? Gangbusters. Is that a game? Robin Hood. I could have been. It's not a game. That's just a trading game.
It's not a game.
No, it's not a game.
It's a stock trading platform. It's not a game.
So fine, the guys they're playing it. They're addicted to it. So fine, we'll call that they're just watching the stocks. That might be a real good bittul Torah right there. So we think that that's bittul Torah. He was watching Jack Bauer do whatever he does over and over and over. It's an old movie or show from my day called 24. And no, bittul Torah. Says Reb Chaim Kanievsky, if you're learning a piece of Torah, but you're learning it much shallower than you could learn it. You're learning a Tosfos, and you're like reading the, but you could manage be in that Tosfos. Reb Chaim says that might be a bittul Torah compared to how you could learn the Tosfos. I was like, oh my goodness, Rabbi, that was intense. Yeah. If you could plunge your mind into something and really get it, so that might be a bittul Torah leumas what you could have done. So to make a long story short, you got to keep learning and go deeper and deeper and deeper. And that's starting to express your neshama through the levushim of machshava, as well as when you say the words of Torah, like we're saying right now, through the levush of dibur, of speech. Then it comes to the midos. That's the emotive parts, the emotional parts of your soul. They're expressed our words, yira ve'ava ve'anfeim, v'toldoseim, v'luboshes b'kiyim ha'mitzvos b'maisa b'dibur. You express the emotional parts of your soul through the actions, because emotions actually make us do things. Intellect doesn't make us do things. That's why a person could know that he should be doing something, but he still does not do it because he's not emotionally charged up to do it. Only becomes emotionally relevant to him does he actually do something about it. And our speech is very related to our emotions. So the way that I express my emotional part of my neshama is through my speech and my actions. Love, which is an expression of my soul, is the source of all the do mitzvahs. Because why do I do a mitzvah? When I put on tefillin, what do I want to do something? Love means I'm moving forwards. I want to. Why do I refrain from one of the 365? Because I fear, I refrain, I recoil. This is Spanish Ramban on this. That's why Av is Doich Mitzvahs Aseh, Doich Alois Aseh, famous Ramban on that. In Yevamos, it's in the Torah, that doing is Ava. I love. Fear is I'm recoiling. I don't want to do something. Umemene nimshachos ubil ode ein lahem kiyam amiti ki hamekayim be'emes hu ha'oyeves Hashem yisborach. When you're doing a mitzvah, when you're putting on tefillin, you want to because you love Hashem. Be'emes. So it's pulling you, that love in your heart is putting out, I want to run to put on my tefillin. To falak. You guys falaked today? Yeah. We love God. So we're falacking. Okay? V'chafetz l'davka boy. I want to cleave to you, Hashem. Be'emes. V'ef shel l'davka boy be'emes ki im b'kiyim ramach pikudin shem ramach evar in the malka. Kavi yachim. I can only cleave to you, Hashem. This is a very Kabbalistic section. By connecting to the 248 limbs of the king. Hashem, so to speak, the mitzvahs are, so to speak, Hashem's limbs. And by doing the mitzvahs, we're cleaving to Hashem himself. Hashem doesn't have any limbs, it's all conceptual. But it's that I'm running to those elements that you want me to do. And Yira, he shayers l'shasa loisase. Yira makes you recoil. Ki yir limrei de melech malchem alochem HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I'm afraid to rebel against you, Hashem. Oy yira penimis mizeh. That's a basic level of a yira. What's the first level of yira? I don't want to rebel against the king. Because what happens if I rebel against the king? Off with his head. You know, we have a hard time understanding the institution of a king. Because, you know, most of the kings are just fools. They're not kings. Like King David. Maybe a little bit, like if you learn about our kings. And Mashiach will be that. But not like this drunken, like King Edward, whatever. Bring me my goblets. Yeah. I'm talking about king. That people were, but they knew that there's a fear. And there's a fear of rebelling against the king. We have a little bit of that fear of, you know, maybe like King Jong-un. You don't mess around, you know, like, There's a little bit of that, but that's fear of going against. But a real king, that's the higher level. Shemis boishish migdulasai limrois eine kevoida lases harab be'enav koyta avas Hashem asher sanahem. The higher level of fear is not that I'm afraid that he's going to chop off my head. The greater level of fear, it's not even fear. It's that I'm so in awe of you, I can't bear that you should see me do something that would not be according to your greatest values. That'd be lowly in your eyes. You're not afraid. By the way, a lot of this you get when you go to a tzaddik. You're not afraid that the tzaddik is going to hurt you. But there's a fear of, you feel lowly, like compared to him, and he could see into my forehead, he saw the things I did last night, he could see me. There's a fear of a bit of embarrassment, of bush. If a guy is, God forbid, looking at something on his phone in bed late at night, and all of a sudden he feels a tap on his shoulder, and it's Rabbi Rossman, he wouldn't be afraid that he would get hurt. He would be, the pain, the fear would be much more gripping of, oh my goodness, I'm so embarrassed. That's a higher level of fear of God, is such a connection that I would never do those things because I would never want you to see me like that. Because I honor you so much, I look up to you, I have an awe of you so much.
Isn't that more love than fear?
There's fear.
That's love.
Fear.
Like, I love you so much I wouldn't ever want to ruin the relationship. That's more like...
So there is a love, we're going to see the love and fear are deeply connected. You're also, when you love somebody, you don't want to do something to... That's right. There is a connection. It's more rooted in fear because I'm recoiling. There's more of a recoil. I can't believe I did that. I should have been...
We're called from love too. Like, I can't believe I would ever do that to ruin the relationship.
No, but love means I'm running to do things that you want.
And running away from stuff.
That you don't want, that's fear.
It's not exactly from love, you know?
So that's where love and fear can blend together. But the simple pshat in love is running. That's why all the mitzvahs aseh are built on ava, and the mitzvahs lo aseh are built on yira. Hem klipas v'sitra achar asher yinikosem ha'odam ha'tachton v'achizosem boy hu b'shasam mitzvahs lo aseh. This end part is wow deep. This is the Tanya, so he just tells it like it is. A Jew also becomes fearful. I never want to do one of the aveiros in the Torah, specifically the don't do mitzvahs, because where does the dark side get its energy from? Mipnei avnasena arabim. I don't need to say anymore. Ask your friends what that means. Mipnei avnasena arabim, and Amalek is only here because we're still Mipnei avnasena arabim, because we're still involved in. That's how it gets its life force. Which means if we get our act together and stop being over on loisase, all the klipas will lose their energy. Everything like that. You know, chab.
It's missing on assay also.
Missing on an assay prevents more blessing from coming into the world. Which means that you could have brought down rain into Ethiopia to save. With that tefillin, with that kiddush, with that, could have brought some, and you prevented that from coming in. But it doesn't give energy to the dark side. The dark side grabs on during an aveira because it went into something asur, right? Which means the soul of the Jew went into something asur. That place of isur, now the Yetzer Hara, the other side, grabs a hold of it and says, I'm gonna grab. That's called basically the story of the lost princess. That the lost princess is kidnapped in the palace of the no good one. The no good one is the dark side. Is when the princess is in the palace of the no good one, he is drawing from her power. The status that he has now, the princess is in her palace. You know all these like stories of Save the Princess? It's all from the Zohar. You know, it's all from It's all from us. Every part of it, the dragon and the knight and the save, the whole thing, and the moats. I always joke around about moats. My wife's like, I don't want to get a moat for our house, but a moat, it's so epic. She's like, no moats, but alligators and save the day and the princess. And she's like, no moats. They probably have fleas there. Rabbi, have a wonderful day.